Peace and love, family. Welcome to U.S. Political Prisoners and You, brought to you by the Northeast Political Prisoner Coalition, NEPC. And I'm with my brother Tariq. I'm going to introduce him for those who don't know who he is in just 1 second. But I just want to get into this whole concept or the idea of African liberation. What does May mean? What does African Liberation Month mean? Why is it significant? Why is it important? Well, we know that May is a month where a number of things that's going to be going on. The December 12th movement, they're going to have their yearly shutdown in Harlem. So if you are going to be in Harlem, make sure you participate in that. Make sure you support that. The Kamal Siddiqui International Campaign is having a fundraiser for our beloved comrade who's still in prison. We got to do our work. We got to do our job to bring them home. Holla has a program happening. So please share, please subscribe. We got to get our youth involved because our youth, like the Black Conscious Movement in South Africa, is next up in line. They're going to do what is necessary to win our liberation, to fight for our liberation. So we got to prepare, we got to organize, we got to do our role in raising their consciousness. So May being African Liberation Month, it is a time where we reflect on a number of African liberation struggles, and we're going to talk about Steve Biko, who he is, and what did he do, and why in 2026 he is still important. He is significant. But before we even get into that, I want to get into a quote that he had. One of his many quotes in this: "I'm going to be me as I am, and you can beat me or jail me or even kill me, but I'm not going to be what you want me to be." So that quote lets you know how serious he was about self-determination. And before my brother Tariq speaks, let's just go into his bio. So Stephen Biko, excuse me, was born December 18th, 1946. Uh, Tarkastad, South Africa. He made his transition, died in September 12th, 1977, Port Elizabeth, South Africa, founder of the South African Students Organization and leader of the Black Consciousness Movement. Steve Biko's death at the age of 30 robbed South Africa of one of its most popular and effective anti-apartheid activists and gave the movement its most famous martyr. Memorialized in the 1987 film Cry Freedom, Biko became the international symbol of the brutal repression facing those who fought racial injustice in South Africa. The third of four children, Biko grew up in the all-black Ginsburg area of King Williamstown in the Eastern Cape. He was only 4 when his father, a policeman, died. When Biko was 16, the town raised money to send him to the Lovedale Institution, the school that his older brother Kaya attended. Shortly after Biko arrived, Kaya was arrested on suspicion of belonging to the banned Pan Africanist Congress, PAC. Although Kaya was later acquitted, both brothers were expelled. Biko finished his studies at St. Francis College, a Catholic boarding school in Natal Province, and graduated in 1965. The next year, Biko entered the University of Natal to study medicine. There, he joined the National Union of South African Students and USAS, a multiracial anti-apartheid student group. By 1967, international events had led Biko to question his commitment to a non-racial approach. Much of Africa had only recently won independence from years of white colonial rule, and in the United States, the Black Power movement was on the rise, resolving that it was time to reject the help of white liberals and form an all-Black anti-apartheid organization. Biko and other members of NUSAS and the University Christian Movement, UCM, founded the South African Students Organization, SASO, in 1968. As SASO's first president, Biko traveled throughout South Africa, training students to lead their own SASO chapters. In his SASO newsletter column, I Write What I Like, he expressed his views on Black consciousness, the belief that Black South Africans could overcome injustice only by first defeating the mentality of oppression. Even after stepping down as president in 1970, SASO's bylaws provided for a new president every year. he continued to function as the organization's heart and soul. His studies suffered, and in 1972, he left the university without receiving his medical degree. Biko went to work for the newly formed Black Community Programs, BCP, helping to organize youth groups aimed at building skills and self-esteem among its members. He also continued to serve as publicity director for SASO and began a correspondence course in law. In addition, Biko helped found the Black People's Convention, BPC, which sought to expand SASO's work beyond the student population. In 1973, the South African government placed banning orders on Biko and 7 other SASO leaders. Confined to King Williamstown, Biko founded and ran an Eastern Cape branch of the BCP until 1973. By that time, Biko was looking to increase SASO and BPC cooperation with the banned African National Congress, ANC, and PAC. But after the 1976 Soweto student uprising, the government increased its harassment of Biko, one of the few leading figures in the anti-apartheid movement who had not been in prison or exiled. He was detained twice under the Terrorist Act, and then on August 18, 1977, he was once again taken into police custody, where he was stripped naked and beaten for refusing to cooperate. Less than a month later, his naked, mangled body was found in the Pretoria jail cell. An official investigation into Biko's death cleared the police, and in October 1977, the government banned all Black consciousness movement organizations. For years, the South African police denied responsibility of his death, first claiming that he had starved while on a hunger strike, then that he had smashed his own head into a wall, fatally fracturing his skull. In 1997, testimony before the Truth and Reconciliation Commission and the public, including Biko's widow, Nasti Lilo, the officers involved, finally admitted to having tortured and murdered Biko 20 years earlier. Biko, who was utilized by then Bishop Desmond Tutu, left behind 3 young children. So that's the life of our beloved comrade, our martyr, and former political prisoner. So my brother Tariq, it's on you, brother.
Oh, yes, please. Peace, family. I am Tariq. I am a Black Panther. I'm a former member of the Black Liberation Army. I spent 17 years in numerous American death camp prisons as a political prisoner of war. I'm happy that you family members are with Frank and me having this discussion about Steve Biko. Learning about Steve Biko is an important experience to have. Peace, Frank.
Peace and love, my brother. My first question is, what did you first learn about Steve Biko, and where were you politically?
Well, I learned about Steve Biko in about 1979. I was in prison. I was a political prisoner. As I just pointed out, I was a member, at the time, I was a member of the Black Liberation Army. I had been captured following a mission, and I was doing time for that expropriation that we had committed. And so while in prison, a brother introduced me to the book by Donald Woods, I believe it was, and the book was called Biko, around 1979. And at that time, I was on the same page politically as Steve Biko. I felt that our people were colonized people. We were being both people, South Africans and the Union of South Africa, the USA, and the USA, the United States of America, the colonized people, both the Africans and the Africans in America. We were colonized people, and we were being subjected to a training process. And like Biko, I felt that the Black consciousness approach to dealing with this matter was very important, and I felt that it was a central part of the movement because, as Biko has said, let me just point out that one of his Biko's quotation, and his quotation is that uh, the mind of the oppressed is the most potent weapon that the oppressor has. And I was of that belief back then, and I'm of that belief now, because being as colonized people, we are subjected to training processes, and people don't realize it, but the worse that a person is treated, and the more that the person arrives at the wrong conclusions as a result of being treated very badly, that person having been treated as bad as he or she has, and because they arrive at numerous wrong conclusions, those persons go on to perpetuate this system. And that's why the Black consciousness movement was necessary back then. Biko was working on it, and we was working on it on this side of the ocean, to dissolve the negative conclusions that our people arrived at. Because once our people think of themselves as a pile of something, and you can tell them they got the champagne glasses, the big cigars, they got the rings and the jewelry, the Rolexes and all like that. Those people think of themselves as a pile of something. They think of themselves as stupid. They've been treated very badly, and they are acting under the illusion that should they pursue acquiring money so that they can buy the clothes and the cars and the airplanes and the houses, then they can, by having those uh, symbols of wealth, that will communicate to people that they are not inferior persons and that they should not be treated as such. That is their hope. But they are doing the wrong thing. They are trying to acquire money so that they can communicate to people that they are not inferior persons and they should not be treated as inferior persons. But that's the wrong way. The only way to stop yourself from feeling inferior is to erase those wrong conclusions that the people have arrived at. And that's what Steve Biko felt when he was alive, and that's what we felt. We was pursuing that when I got his book in 1979. And that was to tell our people to dissolve the negative conclusions that they have and arrive at that I'm an intelligent person, I'm a courageous person, and I'm a human being, the most valuable entity in the world. And that is the way to dissolve, that is the way to communicate to people that you are not an inferior person, by thinking of yourself as intelligent and not by getting all this money. People saying, I got to get paid. But we got to put this on billboards. People run around talking about they got to get paid instead of liberating their people. They think of themselves as a pile of something, a pile of something. They think of themselves as stupid, and they think of themselves as lacking courage. And then they are pursuing this acquiring money thing. And that's what Steve Biko was trying to communicate during the course of his life, that it was wrong to pursue these courses. And that is, these people are holding back our liberation. They don't know, and we have to let them know that the way to stop thinking of yourself as inferior, to stop thinking of yourself as a power of something, is to dissolve that by developing new conclusions about yourself. And those conclusions, as I said, is that I'm a human being, the most valuable entity in the world. And you have to forgive the people, more than likely that were your parents, who treated you very badly. And this is what Steve Biko was saying during the Black Conscious movement. You have to forgive your parents for having treated you bad, having made you think of yourself as a pile of something, having made you think of yourself as stupid, having made you think that everything you did is wrong, and the way to dissolve those things is not by acquiring money, not by getting paid and going after all this money. You're wasting time, you're wasting your life, and you're wasting the lives of the colonized people by pursuing these wrong things. And so that's what, when I heard of Steve Biko back in 1979, I understood him pursuing the Black consciousness movement. And he had adopted as one of his slogans, Black is beautiful, but he had acquired that slogan from having studied the movement here in America, and that movement was being headed by Alambe Brap and Kwame Brathwaite. So he studied our situation, and we were studying his situation. Okay, Frank?
No, thank you for that elaborate breakdown of Steve Biko and how you relate to who he is and how you was and where you were politically. I think that when I first heard about Steve Biko, I wasn't really in a position politically. I think I was apolitical. Matter of fact, I was apolitical. I was thinking that change came through when it was time for change to happen. I didn't think that change came through common people coming together, organizing, and fighting for it. It's always quality over quantity, right? And those quality of common people who are determined to make change happen and who are willing to do as much as they can during the time that they have to make change possible is how change comes to be. And but I remember hearing about his name, right? And even hearing about Cry Freedom, even though I wasn't political, but I remember hearing about this young man dying and people feeling upset and people responding, right? It could have been over the movie or just hearing different discussions in the street. But in my mind, I was thinking that those who did it was bad. And I do remember hearing about apartheid and different corporations being involved in apartheid and what you should refrain from. And although I wasn't politically conscious, it still made me think about what was happening. Why was it that people in Africa who was living there for a very long time were being treated by people who had just came there and was putting them under this regulation, subjugating them. But um this is just important for us to talk and think about where we were when we first heard about Steve Biko, and now that we understand his importance, his relevance. Now, what do we do about it? How do we relate to that? Because Steve Biko represented what position that we're supposed to take when we're conscious about ideas that impact and reflect the interests of the collective. Right? There's only one of two sides to choose when you're engaged in this war of ideas, right? You're either on the side that represents the ideas of the individual, or you're on the side of the ideas that represent the collective, right? And you look at colonialism, you look at imperialism, that's always about individuals at the expense of the collective. So now you know those ideas, that perspective, you want to stay away from. You want to deal with the ideas that represent the collective. The African proverb says, I am we, right? So that's the psyche of the African. So um, I'm going to proceed with the next question, right? Because that's the way me and you have our dialogue when we come on this platform. And that's the way we want to stimulate others who are interested in political prisoners or who have just heard about political prisoners for the first time to let them know about political prisoners, right? Steve Biko was a political prisoner. Then he became a martyr because of being tortured and eventually killed by those who were in power. So my second question is, what valuable lessons can two generations learn from Steve Biko's work?
Well, I think that the valuable lessons that the people can learn from the present day generation can learn is that Steve Biko studied our situation, and he was dealing with the Black consciousness movement, dealing with young people. Now, that's important because the colonization of South Africa took place in 1898 to 1905, and that's when the British, the French, the people from the Netherlands, people from Belgium. So you had four nations of people that were settling in South Africa at that time because the word had got out that South Africa was a mineral-rich country, and they had a population of poor, ignorant people, as it were. And the fact that they had discovered gold there and they had discovered diamonds, and that attracted the people from the various countries. And these people came there armed, and they was armed so that the young people that Steve Biko was working with, they didn't know about what their grandfathers had went through because But when the young people in 1969, the colonizers were in control, and the colonizer was not teaching our people the history of what had went on. And if our people in 1969 had known that our people were very brave, and we were the South African people were not in that situation because of lack of courage. And I'll give you one instance. In one instance, the British they attacked our African brothers and sisters, and at that battle, the Battle of Blood River, our people lost 4,000 people. And they did not lose 4,000 people because of a lack of courage. They lost the 4,000 people because they were courageous. They were fighting, they had spears and a few rifles fighting against the colonizers who had, everyone was equipped with a rifle, and many of them had machine guns. So that at the Battle of Blood River, our people lost 4,000 people. 4,000 soldiers died. And the British, the colonizers, I think one of them was cut and another one was stabbed in the leg, and our people lost 4,000 people. But we lost the 4,000 people because our people was courageous and they was determined to get these colonizers to make them go away. And that's how they lost their lives. So that we want to know that. And we want to know that our people were are intelligent, and the 1969 generation of young people didn't know that our people were courageous, our people was intelligent, and so that they didn't know that, and so they believed what the colonizers was calling them, and the colonizers was calling them niggers and stupid people, and you people is nothing but a pile of something. And so many people concluded that yes, the colonizer is right. I'm a pile of something. I'm stupid, and I'm this. And so they was pursuing, trying to pursue money to remedy, to get rid of those thoughts that the colonizers was putting in their head. And that, we want to mention that as the Africans were being subjected to that under the apartheid system, and apartheid means segregation, we Black people were being subjected to the same thing. They was calling us the N-word. They were saying that we were stupid, and they were saying that we was animals, and that was a regular thing. And many of our people here had concluded that they were the N-word, and that there was a pile of something. And so that Lambe and them had to come up with the Black is Beautiful slogan, and they had to begin a campaign to promote that. And so that's what Steve Biko had to do. And so that's what persons who are involved in the liberation struggle, they have to know the history of our people being subjected to these socialization processes. These socialization processes actually were training processes that our people have been subjected to. And that is why only a few people have survived, that they did not incorporate the name calling, that they are stupid and that they are in people, that they are piles or something. And so they are trying to pursue money to help with everybody else. I'm gonna get paid. But we got to know this I'm gonna get paid attitude is because the person who's saying that think of themselves as a pile of shit. I'm gonna be clear. And that's why they're trying to prove to people that they are not a pile of something. But unfortunately, many of our people have arrived at this conclusion. And see, they are pursuing the wrong thing. And by trying to get paid, they're making it possible for us to continue to be treated as a pile of something. They don't know that. They, by them trying to get this money, they are enabling the colonizers to continue to treat us this way. And when those people be trying to get this money, selling this dope, when they go to prison, the guard's going to let them know you are a pile of something, and you're going to see once you get busted for trying to sell all this dope, make all this money, you're going to see what the colonizers think of Black people. Because when I was in there, and a guard would say, "Good morning, Tyreek," I say, "Good morning" to him. He would run and tell the rest of the guard, "Tyreek think he better than everybody else." And I used to hear that. I said, what the hell are you talking about? I think I'm better than somebody else. And the guards was talking about Tyreek think he's equal to a God. You know, he's supposed to be feeling himself to be an inferior person, but he acting like he's on the same level as we are on. That's what the guards were saying. And because the other inmates used to say, when the guard said good morning to another inmate, the inmate would say good morning, boss. And we got to know the Boers in South Africa, they were Dutch. And when you look up the word boss man, that's a Dutch word. When you look it up, it means master. That's what it means. And that's why the guards, we should be mad at me. They say not kill Tyree because he shot the police, but kill Tyree because he think he on the same level. That's what's going on. And they want all the colonized people to think of themselves as a pile of something. And when they speak to a person of superior rank, you're supposed to act like you are inferior and say boss and all that stuff. And so by pursuing this money thing, this getting paid thing, you enabling them to keep us in this situation where we could be free once you think of yourself as a proud African, as a human being, the most valuable entity in the world. And that's the thing that we got to leave to our persons who are studying what is going on and who are learning about Steve Biko, who are learning about our situation. We have to know these things, and we have to know the processes that's involved, and we have to know the way to stop being treated like a pile or something is you got to do the consciousness thing that Steve Biko was talking about, and that is dissolve the ideas in your head that you are a pile of something, that you are stupid, and that you are a coward. You got to dissolve those ideas. And money is not going to do it, because no matter how much money you get, you will see these guys, Musk and them got billions of dollars. Now they're trying to get trillions of dollars because they see a guy over here, he got as much money as he got. So now he's saying, I'm really still just a pile of something, so I got to get $1 trillion, you know. And so this is an endless pursuit that is not going to work out satisfactory for you. The only way, the best way, is a liberatory way.
Excellent, brother. Excellent as always. You know, one of the things that I learned from this book that I was reading, Long Walk to Freedom, is that you know, there was like this generational thing, right? So the people of the ANC, they was looking at the Black conscious movement as something that something that wasn't necessarily what they was into, because it dealt with Black people focusing on organizing themselves and without the help of outsiders. And for my understanding anyway. But I bring that up because now in 2026, when you see one generation organizing and then you see another generation that was organizing way longer, I think that there needs to be this relationship that needs to be understood, right? The elders, they need to respect the youth's energy, their physicality, and then the youth need to respect the elders' wisdom and their knowledge from experiences. But I think that there needs to be a distinction between pleasing your elders and respecting your elders, right? Because I could maybe cook for you, or I could take you to your doctor's appointment, or I maybe go grocery shopping, right? And that's respecting you, right? But I don't need necessarily have to get your approval on everything that I'm doing, right? I might have a perspective that I think is correct, and I need to get it off because it's something that's motivating me to do this work. And I think that that relationship needs to be respected on an equal level. That's what I've learned from not. I didn't read this whole book, but just as we prepared for this discussion, as I wanted to make that point because I think it's very important into organizing. So before we end this, I'm going to get into my last question. My last question is, what can organizers for the freedom of captured freedom fighters, political prisoners, learn from Steve Biko's legacy? So in 2026, what can we learn, us organizers? But before you go into that, I just want to give our viewers another one of his quotes that I think is very important, because I was listening to his son speak, and his son talking about, a good idea never dies. And that brings me to the point. It says, it is better to die for an idea that will live than to live for an idea that will die. So I think that's very important when we talk about the fight to free our political prisoners is a work that is very important and is very worthy of our commitment, because it's going to be around as long as this oppression exists. So that question to you, do you still remember the question, or you want me to repeat it?
Okay. Okay. I got it here. The question here. Yeah. What can organizers for freedom of captured freedom fighters learn from Steve Biko's legacy? And I think that the thing that we can learn, first of all, Nelson Mandela got out of prison in 91. He got out on the 11th. I was supposed to got out 3 days later, but they charged me with attempted escape. Now, it's very possible that I could have been in the committee when the Rubinum received him. I could have possibly been on stage to receive him also. And I don't know if that's why they kept me in jail. They charged me with attempted escape. I should have got out 3 days after he got out. But I didn't get out until a year later after having been charged with, I had parole and they charged me with attempted escape. So that's how they worked to accomplish their objective. But I think the thing that they can learn from Steve Biko is to learn that an essential part of the struggle is the matter of Black consciousness and the thoughts that are on our mind, whether we have salubrious, healthy thoughts or we have arrived at negative conclusions, because living in this apartheid situation here in America or living in an apartheid situation in South Africa, both colonized people are being subjected to a training process, and the training process is designed for us to arrive at the numerous negative conclusions that I point to. And that's why Steve Biko, a learned person, decided that he should concentrate on the consciousness of the colonized people, changing the consciousness of the colonized people. And this would be a principal accomplishment, and this would be a pivotal accomplishment in terms of persons involving themselves in the struggle. And so we want to learn that we must get the people to first know that, like Steve Biko, our political prisoners was working on transforming the consciousness of the people and the political prisoners felt that this was an important component of the struggle, just like Steve Biko felt. And we have Brother Robert Seth Hayes, Brother Fitzgerald. These are political prisoners, and they felt the same way that Steve Biko felt. And we want to, persons involved in the freeing of our political prisoners should know that, like Steve Biko, our political prisoners felt that an essential component of the struggle was to change in the minds of the people. And so we want our people to stop thinking of themselves as stupid, stop thinking of themselves as in piles or something, Let me tell you something. One night, the Ku Klux Klan got me alone in a mess hall in Chu Lai, Vietnam. I was the only Black person in the mess hall. 20 Ku Klux Klan came in there and started talking about, we got a nigger here, we're gonna fuck this nigger up, and the niggers ain't shit and all of that. And I turned around and I saw it was 20 Ku Klux Klan. And I said, let me go up here and stab 3 or 4 of them, because they didn't, I said, they're not gonna believe that they got the right person now. I am not an end person. I am a human being. I am an African person. And that's what our people have to learn, that our people have to think of themselves as Africans and not as piles of something, because a person who thinks of themselves as a pile of something is going to wrongly pursue acquiring money. Anyway, I turned around and saw these 20 Klansmen talking about, there's a nigger over there. I'm not a nigger. So I stepped to them and I chased 20 Ku Klux Klan because I had a switchblade knife on me. I said, they're not going to believe it. I'm going to be able to stab 3 or 4 of these Ku Klux Klansmen before they know what's going on, because it's 20 of them. They're not going to believe that one Black man is going to confront 20 Klansmen. When I confronted them, they saw the knife. 20 Klansmen ran out the door. I chased 20 Klansmen out the door because I thought of myself as an African, and I was pursuing African liberation. I wasn't trying to get paid. I was trying to be free, to free me, to free my family, and to free all our loved ones. So that's what our people going to have to think of and know about that. Steve Biko was about that, and our political prisoners are about that. And that's why you don't hear no complaints out of our political prisoners. You don't hear no complaints from Freddie Kamal Siddiqui, from Amir Abu Jamal, Jamil El-Amin, who just passed away. I done time with him. But you ain't hear no complaints out of them because they thought of themselves as human beings, the most valuable entity in the world. And so by the colonizers subjecting our people to training processes. And we got to remember that the colonizers were first subjected to the training process of thinking themselves as a pile of something. And that's why they do anything to get money, kill however many people, because it's very painful when you think of yourself as a pile of something. But the correct way to rid yourself of thinking of yourself as a pile of something is to change your ideas, not to acquire money. You just waste. That's why they say you're just wasting time and you be killing people, just wasting them, wasting time, wasting people's lives, pursuing the wrong thing. And the persons who think of themselves negatively like that, those are the persons who keep the system going because they be chasing this dollar. But the thing that's got them chasing this dollar is the wrong idea. So that persons who are helping out on the freedom struggle, we got to know that our political prisoners are persons like Steve Biko, and that's a legacy I think that we want to pass on to our people.
Yes. So, we're going to conclude this episode. I thought it was a very powerful episode. Appreciative of your time. I know the value of it. Just want to conclude by saying that, when we look at Steve Biko's fate, we have to accept the responsibility that Amir Abu Jamal's fate lies in our hands. The fate of Kamal Siddiqui lies in our hands. The fate of Ronald Reed lies in our hands. The fate of the Virgin Island 3 lies in our hands. The fate of Ronald Reed lies in our hands, and all of our political prisoners. We have to accept that responsibility. It was said very clear, and I said it on this podcast a number of times, that Sundiata Acoli was being taken care of by a care committee with love and affection and political responsibility. He had said that the state don't free political prisoners, the people do. So that is our responsibility. We have to accept it. And in the spirit of Steve Biko's legacy, let us organize, let us commit ourselves to freeing our political prisoners. What's the call?
Free them all.
What's the call?
Free them all.
What's the call?
Free them all.